Hey everyone, Julia Barbaro here, host of the Julia and Gino Podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro.
Julia, how are we doing today, baby?
Amazing.
All right, we got a great guest on. Today we're here to welcome Sean Spicer to the show. Mr. Spicer most recently served as the 28th White House Press Secretary and previously held positions as Communications Director and Chief Strategist of the Republican National Committee. Not to mention, he was a quarterfinalist on season 28, Julia, of ABC's Dancing with the Stars. Maybe I'll sing a little opera and you can dance for us a little bit. All right, maybe I won't. Okay. Without further ado, Sean, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So we got you on because you wrote a great book with Brave, The Parrots Go Bananas. What made you want to write the book?
So first of all, the funny thing is, this is actually my fourth book, and I always wanted to write a children's book. And initially, I kept getting told like no one wants to read a kid's book from you. So when I met with them, I'd been hosting a show on Newsmatch. We had a lot of their authors on, and I thought to myself, this is a great organization, Brave Books is, and they're doing a lot to counter what our kids are seeing and reading, et cetera. And so I thought this was great. I got to know the people there, and they approached me and said, "Would you ever be willing to do that?" And I said, "My God, I've always wanted to write a kid's book. I don't even know what I'd write about." We started doing some brainstorming, and they were like, "Well, what would you think?" And we, again, through this iterative process, I said, well, there's always like fake news, right? And you think about it, no kid, like 8 to 12-year-old is going to read a book about fake news, but I have kids of my own. And we know that a lot of times a narrative sets hold with kids and they get told, everybody says this and a lot of, there's just rumors and whatever. And I thought it's kind of the same thing. They get told something's true or the pack mentality. And that's kind of what fake news really is at an adult level. So, we started sketching this thing out and we realized that at its core, that's kind of what fake news is it's what kids are exposed to where they're told everybody believes this and it doesn't matter if it's true and you should go with the flow. And so, I thought it was a great message. It was fun because I actually got to bounce it off my kids and say, is this kind of a realistic scenario? I mean, not obviously it's fictional, but the idea was, this is how it works, at your age. And so it was fun for me in the creative process.
The only issue that I have with the book is the character Penelope. She owns a rental unit and you made her evil. You made her the bad person. Like, I'm the landlord. So it's like, I'm the bad guy in this book. So other than that,
so listen,
if it makes you feel any better, I don't even come close to how well you've done. I have 4 or 5 right now. So if we're gonna say it's a bad thing, then I'm implicating myself. So just don't feel bad. And actually, now that I know that, I actually feel like I should be more like you. Although I will tell you, I think rental units are like kids. I have 2. I don't know how I could do more. You've got like 18. I have 5 rental units. You've got like 4,000. So I don't know how you do it because on both fronts, I think I've maxed out.
Well, the key is to marry someone who is a little bit better than you, a little bit higher than you, and can actually support you. Without the wife, without Jake, you need to have great people surrounding you. And I'm sure you've had that in your life, whether it's your teams, whether it's part of the Republican Party, whatever that is. Without that support, without that person in your corner rooting you on, you have no shot in life.
Oh, no. I don't think my kids would have ever had a meal. So I know I get that. I'm with you on that.
Go ahead, baby. What you got?
The book, it made me laugh because I did not read it. My daughter read it. One of our daughters read it 9.
And that's what made you laugh, huh?
Yeah. And, but I gave my husband a hard time because he left the book at the office after he gave me a hard time of remembering to give it to him. And so as I was walking out the door just now, Laura said, "Mom, make sure you tell him it's the best book ever. Make sure." And I said, "What was the big message?" She's like, the message was, tell the truth. Don't accuse people without getting the information first. I said, okay, that's all I need to hear. And because that's what we want as parents. We want them to be able to read a book and I don't have to reread it before we hand it to them because that's what's happening.
Yeah. And that's the problem these days, right? Is that the kids have so much material and content that you have to wonder, what are you seeing, reading, hearing? And when you get a book from Brave, you don't have to worry. You know that it's a good, solid family Christian patriotic message. And that's the thing I loved about writing this book was that it doesn't matter who you are. Like, no one can object to this. Tell me something that, when you read that book or she read it, that you would say, gosh, I don't know that I want my kids exposed to what?
Yes.
Being a good person, not accusing someone falsely. And there were so many great themes. And that's why I enjoyed it, because to me, it's something that I can hand off to somebody. And, even if you're the biggest leftist, you can't, or I would be surprised if you could object to anything.
Yeah.
Well, they can object to anything, but the problem is, what I want to ask is, if I'm part of this country now and I feel a little despair, what are some of the things that I can be doing? Because I think everyone has the ability to change the world. What can I do right now, as far as taking some action steps and trying to get rid of this fake news? I mean, what can we do as citizens, in your opinion?
So there's sort of a continuum, if you will, a spectrum. Everything from jumping in the arena and saying, I'm going to be a candidate for school board or city council, something like that. But then there's a lot of things in between. And the things in between are like, and I'm completely transactional on this. And, but like, I've got a show every night that I do called The Sean Spicer Show. It's a podcast. It's available on Rumble and YouTube. And then all these, obviously, like, as you guys know, like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, whatever. But my point is that if you're going to support news organizations, first of all, my show, like yours, is free. Like, you can go watch it every day. You can subscribe on my YouTube channel. You can buy Brave books, not just mine, but I mean, like, there's so many great authors at Brave. But so you can put your money where your mouth is and support these things. The last thing, if you look at the continuum between like getting in and then, sort of your wallet and financially supporting these things, is also like sharing these things. I think part of the reason the left succeeds is because we're silent. And so if you like my book or someone else's book, share it. And what I mean by share it is tell people, hey, buy this, tweet about it, do whatever. But where the left wins is when we're silent and when we don't go out there and articulate the products that are good, the policies that are good, the people that are good. And I gave a speech a couple of weeks ago up in Maine. Someone asked a very similar question to what you're asking. And I said, look, I'll just be straight with you. It's not easy all the time in this current environment. They make it difficult. They'll shout you down. They'll call you names. They'll try to cancel you. It's not, and so it's not an easy thing. Right. And to your point, like we were talking about the book, right? There's nothing in that book that I wrote, The Parrots Go Bananas, that is objectionable to anybody. Right. And yet when I tried to do a reading with Kirk Cameron, there were protests. Like, for what? What was it? And the thing is, they don't ever get asked, what is it that you find objectionable, right? They have the media, they have Hollywood, they have big tech, they have academia all on their side. They make it difficult for us to say and spread, I think, good messages. And so the question that you're asking is a very good one, and it's a very simple one. But it's also a very difficult answer, because a lot of people go, God, I don't know that I need my neighbors coming after me, because no one actually looks beneath the headline, do they? No. So they'll hear, oh, Jay or Gina, bad people. And why? Oh, I don't know. I read it on the internet. I saw a tweet about them or whatever. And so doing the right thing isn't always easy. And so I say all that because there's this continuum. You can support things financially. Like I said, for me, I've gone independent because I had an opportunity to say I could take my show and build it and then license it out. And I've loved every minute of it, because you're looking right now at the HR department, the legal department, and so we've been very successful, but it's because people are subscribing and sharing the show. And I think we're giving them some really smart insight in this election year. We're bringing on great guests. President Trump, we had an episode with him last week. And the best part about it is that, but it only succeeds if I can get people like you guys to agree to say, I want to subscribe to the show. I want to buy the book. I got a brand new documentary out right now called Trump's Front Row Joes. You can go to salemnow.com to watch it. It's all about what it's like, the backbone of the Trump movement, who these people are that travel to 1 million rallies. I mean, some of them are spending $50,000 a year going to Trump rallies. Well, if you want to really know about it, you got to go to salemnow.com and do it and watch it and stream it, etc. But it takes a willingness to say, I'm going to stand up for what the things that I believe in and that I'm willing to support, because otherwise I can't do what I do. You guys can't do it. I'll have to go get another job. I'll have to work for you and manage apartments or something.
You don't want to do that. That's one of the last jobs. That's a difficult job. I wanted to ask you, what made you want to get into politics? Because I think that's probably even more difficult than managing apartments.
Well, as a guy that owns 4, I don't know. Although there's a level of sometimes tenant stupidity that rivals the White House press corps. I'm going to call it like the lights went out. Did you check the bulb? I don't know. How can I do that? And I'm like,
but what made you want to get into politics, though? I mean, like that's a tough road, politics.
So I was in college, and honestly, I tell people all the time I had a political awakening. I was a Japanese language major. I hated it. I wasn't very good at it, and I took a course. We called it government, and I found myself very challenged intellectually because the professors, like they are in most colleges, are very leftist. And I kept thinking, well, I don't know that I agree with that. I don't think that that's the role of government. And because of that, I kind of started to get involved. I volunteered on campaigns. I volunteered in the state house. And I frankly, was bitten by the bug. I loved politics for a variety of reasons. Number one, the idea that there's an end, right? So the first Tuesday after the first Monday every election year, it's you either win or lose. You either did a good job or not.
Yeah.
And then you start again. And so there was this sense that it was like playing a game, like football or something, or baseball, there's 9 innings, there's 60 minutes, there's 4 periods in hockey, or in soccer, 3 periods in hockey. And so it's over, and you can make up excuses all you want, but the only one thing that matters is, did you win? And I love the idea of jumping into the arena and fighting as hard as I could for X amount of time, right, up to the election. And then you either won or you lost, but you're only as good as your last election. So you can have a great election cycle, and then you got to start all over again and prove yourself.
Mm-hmm. You have a billionaire real estate mogul. Now, he owns thousands and thousands of units. He is an amazing, eclectic, electric brand. How has he been able to resonate and connect with the blue-collar worker? And how is his message cut through when he's the complete and total opposite of what they are?
I think the easiest way to explain this is that, like, look, when you do that job, right, and you think about it, golf resorts, buildings, apartments, restaurants, you're around the casinos, you're around people who work for a living, paycheck to paycheck in some cases, blue collar workers. I've watched him interact with these people. When he walks through a hotel, he stops, he talks to everyone, and it's not just mindless chit chat. He engages with them about, hey, why did we move that painting there? Should we move that there? What about the floor? Should we get this? Like, he's engaging with them about their job, about the appearance and the aesthetics, sometimes the food, the quality. So he's very hands-on. And so therefore he hears from them about their wants, their needs, their struggles, and you can identify. And that's the thing about most politicians. You're seeing this with Biden a lot right now, about the inner circle and the bubble and whatever. And if you're connected to people, then, part of the reason President Trump loves doing rallies is I think he feeds off people. He gets to test material. He gets to see people and interact with them. And that's not something that most people in politics do or can do. And so he has an authenticity because of his background that he comes into these, so I think that's fundamentally why.
I just wish that they would portray that a little bit more. I mean, they probably are, but I don't think a lot of people realize that he has thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. And I can see from where you're talking about it, that he cares about them and he connects with them. And it's not just, hey, here's a paycheck. I guess he can see that how he affects their lives. And I can feel that from him. He's genuine. I just wish they did a better job of portraying that.
Well, so 2 things in that. Number one, when you go to most properties, I've been to 10 of his properties, maybe. The longevity of most employees is fascinating. Like, they'll be 15, 20 years. They all have some kind of amazing story to tell about them. So that's just fascinating to me, because you can always tell somewhere by how long, the people, like you hear about this in Congress, members of Congress have staff that leaves in like 6 months. They all hate the person. That's pretty telling. It's kind of the opposite. And then, secondly, the they that you're pointing to, that's kind of what I was pointing to before with respect to the book. Every institution is against what the right believes, but then also fundamentally against Trump because he's not trying to curry favor with them. So the Hollywood elites, the media, etc., don't like Trump because he's not there to suck up to them and earn their praises. And I think that upsets them. So they don't want to tell that story. It's not that they can't. They could go to any property and talk to Trump employees and hear that. They could talk to people who've known him they choose not to. And that's the key. This is why I think what we're seeing now with Biden is so important. I tweeted this out that, look, there was a story out from CNN that talked about Biden's close advisors and how they've been shielding him. And I wrote something that I think is just people have to stop and think about. So the story from CNN was how Biden's closest advisors have shielded him, right? And I said, well, so there's only two possibilities. One, you and CNN were complicit in covering this up. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, so let's just say that they say that's not true. We didn't have any clue. Okay. Then you're really bad at what you do. Because you guys claim you're really well sourced and you know all these people. So either one or the other is true. Either you're really bad at what you do and you have no sources and you don't know anything. So let me get this straight. You know all of these inside things about what's happening at the White House, but you have no clue that everyone around him thinks that he's old and has issues, or you've been covering for him. But it's one of the two. But you understand that that's in complete and diametrically opposed to how they treat President Trump, which is they're like, there's a dude who used the restroom at a Trump property that doesn't like him, so we're going to write a whole profile piece on that.
Well, I think it's actually works to our favor because we have candidates who have been through the mill. Like you look at the vice president, she can't answer a question because she's never been challenged, right? It's equality of opportunity, not equality of the outcome. So when Trump's getting hammered and he's getting worked on, he's getting the reps in, whereas the other ones, they're not getting the reps in. And you see what happens when Biden, after 3 years, hasn't gotten any reps in. It shows. And I think that's what's really cool. That Trump's been-
No, that's why I actually, I know I don't think the Trump campaign entirely agreed with me, but I thought it was a good idea that there was a healthy primary. It got him back in the ring. It got him punching again. And it shows. And he's a stronger candidate because of that. I believe that if you look at history in both parties, primaries are healthy things. And history proves me right on that.
I love this conversation. My husband could talk to you about this probably
for the next 6 hours, but we'll keep for the next 10 minutes.
Sean, I'm curious your passion for this, your bravery, because it does take bravery and courage to stand up against the loud left because they're obnoxious at times. They're obnoxious and they're bullies. I'm just curious where that came from. Like, where did that drive come? Because as parents, we try to teach our children to stand up for what you believe in, but they're watching us ultimately. And so if we're not doing it, they're just not going to learn it. So I'm curious where you learn that from, because it does take a lot.
Well, I think you learn it from parents like you who are standing up for what's right with your kids. So that's number one. You're right. If they don't see it, they're not gonna emulate it because they didn't see it at home. So number one, I think I had strong parents. I had strong parents who do that. I think part of this is faith. I think that's part of it. And then part of it is also experience of getting whacked and going, okay, this is what it feels like. But I will tell you that fundamentally what people have to understand is that, and this is true with whether it's Brave Books or my podcast is carried by the First TV network, my documentaries on Salem, salemnow.com, is there are partners out there where I think a lot of people get scared. If they go, oh my gosh, I can't, if I do this, I'll be all by myself. And what I think I'm a testament to is that there is an economy and an environment that will take care of you. If you're willing to fight for it, you look at the number of people on the right who are out there willing to fight for things, and they're doing well because people, will go buy their products, support their shows, watch their documentaries. And I think that we need to be reminded of that because there's like a whole, public square popped up, several months back to offer products, not that were right leaning, that just weren't woke. And that was the thing. It wasn't like they just wanted to say, hey, we want to sell a good product at a good price and not actually go completely leftist. I think what has given me solace is knowing that I can actually support, my family and do things and stand up for what's right. Like I couldn't be, some kind of hack for products that I don't believe in. I have several sponsors on my show and on the Sean Spicer show. And my team knows this, and the marketing team that works with me knows I don't endorse a product that I don't believe in. I use everything on the show. I buy it, I sell it. I mean, like, meaning that like I've used it, I've whatever, but I believe in the products and they believe in me. And I think that that's important when people are when you're asking a question like this, knowing that you can stand up for the right thing and that there's companies and products out there that believe in this. I was just reading a story about some of the back and forth that's happening about the Daily Wire, right? And without getting into it, the bottom line is they were like, yes, we're proudly a pro-life company. And it's like, okay, there are companies out there that espouse values that I think a lot of us agree with and can support. And so it's just saying to these folks, like, I get it. It may not be tough to say and do the right thing, but know that there are people that are willing to stand up and have your back.
We call it, Sean, values-based decision-making. And I think people subconsciously are making decisions based on values that they don't even know that they have. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, what values do you have? What values do you pertain to? Me, integrity, morals, faith, family. I'm going to make decisions based on that. And when I don't, there's something going on. There's some incongruity in my life, and I can feel it, and I don't feel good. And Sean, the same way with you. You may be getting arrows slung at you. You may be getting thrown, tossed, stones tossed, whatever. But then you know you're doing the right thing, so you feel good. But if you give in, that's when you start living a life, and that's when you start giving into the mob, and you're not living your true life. You're not living your true purpose. And that's what I think a lot of people have done. And that leads to darkness. That leads to a lot of bad decision making, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you got to look yourself in the mirror and be good with God. So that, we're only on the earth for a short time, and that's where look. I've said this before. There's a lot of people out there who in Washington are representing TikTok, and I'm like, I get it. They pay a decent amount of money. I've been offered a lot of things since I left the White House, and there's things where I go, can I sleep at night knowing that that's what I took. When I wrote my first book called The Briefing, there was a story that came out, and I don't know if it was the New York Times or something, and there was a bunch of book agents that said, this is how much money I left on the table because I refused to tell stories about Trump and the family. And when the book was going to auction, a lot of the publishers who were coming to the meetings would say, well, what are you going to tell us? Like, and I said, well, here's my story. Here's what and they're like, well, what can you, and I said, I'm not going to, I was honored to get a job at the highest levels with the president. I'm not going to go betray that trust. And there was no question about it. I left money on the table. But as I've said to a lot of folks since then, like, how much is your integrity worth? How much are you willing? I mean, because what's, yes, I could have made more money. But at the end of the day, I kind of look at some of the people that worked in the Trump White House who sold out. And I know from my standpoint, at least, I'll never trust them. I would never trust them. I would never hire them. I would never want to be their friend. And so you have to have a system of values to say what is important to you. Because if it's money, that's easy. I mean, honest to God, there's a lot of ways to make money if you're willing to sell out. And cut corners and treat people horribly. But at the end of the day, I guess the question is, can you sleep with yourself at night knowing that that's how you made it?
If you want to learn how to make money by investing in apartments, just hit us up, jakeandgino.com. Not an easy way, but it's a very lucrative way. Julia, any questions? Anything else from you?
Sean, I want to know what you're working on. I want to hear about the documentary and why. Tell us about it and why you made it.
So I've been involved in, going back to Gina's question, I've been involved in politics for 30 years. And the movement that Trump has is truly historic. These people that are called the Front Row Joes follow Trump around from every rally and event, kind of like Deadheads follow the Grateful Dead or followed the Grateful Dead. And I was having breakfast in Florida a couple of years back with a bunch of guys from the 2016 campaign, and we were all kind of talking about this. And I said, God, it is unbelievable. Like, people have been popular before. Obama was popular. Reagan was popular, and they led a movement. But people, I mean, these guys and these men and women follow Trump around for to go to event to event to event. They sleep in their car for 4 or 5 days. They spend upwards of $50,000 a year to attend rallies. And I was like, God, if no one documents this, the story's just going to die, and no one's going. And so we hired a crew, and we spent 2 years following them around the country. Sat down with President Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and put it together. It's called Trump's Front Row Joes. It's available, as I said, at salemnow.com. And You can stream it, you can buy it, you can gift it. There's a DVD. But the idea is that it really gives you the first inside look at who these people are, the backbone of the Trump movement, what it's like to go to a Trump rally, the logistics involved. We tell it all.
I just want to thank Brave Books for putting us together. And I think that's the reason why we're here. We're really here to promote Brave Books, really here to promote the message that you've written about fake news and about groupthink and about what's going on. And you just wanted everything above board. Julie, before we wrap up, anything else you have for Sean?
I'm just super impressed by your story, Sean, because seriously, a lot of us, we talk about these things at home, but we don't make our voice known in public because we're afraid. And that's why I asked you that question about bravery. And it's very common because we don't want to be bullied. I mean, this to me is a hard thing to do. And, but it's needed. It's needed. And I know we'll get a lot of hate emails, but that's okay because it's needed. And that's important.
They're going to hate me. They're not going to hate her. They look at her and go,
hopefully not a lot of hate mail. Oh, not a lot.
No, we don't. Everyone that we listen to loves what we
where
talk
can
about.
listeners get a hold of you? Where can they go and check out your stuff once again?
So the show is every night at 6:00 on YouTube, Sean Spicer Show. If you go to SeanSpicer.com, that's got everything. In case you forget anything else, you just go to SeanSpicer.com. And obviously the documentary's at SalemNow.com. SalemNow.com.
It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to speak to you these last 30 minutes. I just want to end it by saying, listen, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. I can see that Sean's done a great job of that because he is a model. He is what a father should be like. He's leaving money on the table for the right reasons. He's living his values, and we need more people like that in this world. So once again, thanks for being on, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.